You are now listening to On One Radio, the talk show podcast station, bringing you the unfiltered news and information. This is Let's Talk News Report. Okay, hello everybody. I am Tony Williams, and this is your Let's Talk News Report. Okay, so we already know, as usual, it's a lot of shit going on. So, jumping right into it, we have a man. He allegedly pushed a girlfriend off cruise celebrating 50th birthday, but claims the killing was an accident. Yeah. So, a Kansas man pleaded guilty last December to killing his longtime girlfriend by pushing her off a cruise ship balcony. But his lawyers have filed paperwork claiming the killing was an unintentional result of intoxication. So, he got a PWI, pushing while intoxicated? Okay. So, Eric Dwayne Newman, 53, of Topeka, pleaded guilty to second-degree murder with malice aforethought in the January 2018 death of Tamara Lorraine Tucker. He faces a 12-year prison term followed by 5 years of probation. The killing occurred during a cruise celebrating Tucker's 50th birthday on January 18th. The couple checked into their shared cabin on the vessel's 13th deck after boarding the ship in Jacksonville, Florida. The following day, Tucker was dead. The couple got into an argument inside their cabin. Now, this is according to a news release from the U.S. Department of Justice. At about 12:15 a.m., Newman physically attacked Tucker and strangled her by placing both of his hands around her neck, said the statement. In the process, he pushed his girlfriend over the balcony railing, causing Tucker to fall to her death with 2 stories below on the ship's 11th deck while the boat sailed about 30 miles east of New Smyrna Beach, Florida. Anybody from Florida, correct me on how I said that. Hit me up, say something, let me know. I fucked that name up. I damn sure did. My bad, y'all. Now, the cause of death was blunt force trauma as a result of the fall. In sentencing memorandums filed this week, attorneys for Newman say they were mitigating circumstances in the crime. One memorandum obtained by Jacksonville's News Channel 4 claims the couple was served a total of 21 drinks over a 4-hour period. Another memorandum claims that the number of drinks was actually 22. Toxicology reports show that Tucker had a blood alcohol concentration of 0.22%. While Newman was not tested, witnesses and ship security have said he was highly intoxicated. In the memorandum, defense lawyers said that what happened was in all likelihood an unintentional killing as a result of heavy intoxication. Now, Tucker was a mother and grandmother, spent 10 years as a professor of social work at Park University north of Kansas City, Missouri. She was dedicated to public service, teaching and advocating for social justice and safety for those that could not fend for themselves, her family wrote in her obituary. She also has served as a program director for the Child Abuse Prevention Association, where she led policy change on both the state and national level and advanced child education and support. That was also according to the obituary. Now, a judge will be making a final sentencing decision on March 18th. So, as soon as I get that information, I will definitely let you guys know. And right now, I don't think nobody should be going on trips anyway. With the virus going on and everything, nobody should be trying to go on no cruise. But, you know, this is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. You can't kill people. I don't care if you're drunk or not. You just can't kill people. So, now, moving along to another story that took place at a motorcycle club party in Cleveland. Now, one person died and at least 17 were injured after a shooting Saturday night in Cleveland, Ohio, at a party thrown by multiple motorcycle clubs. Now, see, I like motorcycles, and I'm down with the different clubs and everything. So this is kind of disheartening for me to have to say this, because to me it makes the motorcycle community look very wretched, which they are not. At least most of them are not, but there's always some. And this may be an example of that. Now, Cleveland police responded to a call just before midnight Saturday where they found multiple people shot, one fatally, according to the NBC affiliate WKYC. The injuries were varying in degree and the victims were brought to nearby hospitals. The shooting happened after a fight broke out at a party being held by multiple motorcycle clubs. WKYC reported the fight was between two clubs and the shots were first fired as people were being escorted out of the party. People thrown out of the party returned to the private club during the shooting to exchange gunfire. Now, that's what Cleveland.com reported. It is not immediately clear how many shots were fired or why the fight broke out. And, of course, they couldn't be immediately reached for comments or anything. And police are working to determine how many shooters were involved. The man killed in the fight has not been identified by authorities yet. So this is another something senseless that happened that didn't need to happen. But in fact it did happen, and it's kind of hard to not say don't allow instances like this to make you dislike motorcycle clubs and associations and things like that, because everyone is not like that. I'll just say that. Everyone is not like that. And there are some people out there with sense, so you know the saying, one bad apple, yes, one bad apple, because that's unnecessary. But I digress. Now, moving along. Now, this story here is a bit interesting because it's dealing with absent students, murdered teachers, gangs, and the toll is taken on Honduran schools. Yes, everybody. Honduran schools are having it bad right now, and they need some support. Now, anybody that's listening that's from Honduras, my, prayers and sympathy goes out to you, or anyone you know who has been affected by any of the situations occurring at these schools. Now this name, I cannot pronounce this name to save my life. I'll go and be the first to admit that, but y'all know how I am. I'm going to tell the truth, and damn it, I can't say that name. And there's too many letters to spell out for y'all. Now, moving along. But this is about a young man. Now, he took a long, deep breath and covered his face with his hands as he recalled the day his friend was killed a month ago, a day that should have been the happiest day of his friend's life. And his statement is, what hurts me the most is that he was going to be a father for the first time, but he did not get to see the birth of his baby girl, said the 23-year-old, who's the father of a toddler who asked not to be identified to protect his safety. Now, security here is a complicated issue. Violence is everywhere, and you really can't trust anyone, he told several journalists who attended a meeting organized by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, the agency charged with protecting refugees and forcibly displaced communities around the world. The meeting took place at a park considered a neutral zone, meaning not a gang area, and community members like the bricklayers spoke at the meeting on the condition of he don't want to be identified, or they don't want to be identified, because of the fear of gang retaliation, which is understandable, self-preservation. Now, his friend was shot and killed by gang members, allegedly. The suspects remain at large, and the police never investigated. Because the police don't go into these neighborhoods, said the bricklayer, who had planned on taking his friends to groups that try to help young people avoid being recruited by gangs such as MS-13 and Barrio 18. Survival has become a top priority for people in poverty-stricken colonias or communities. People hurry home before 9 p.m. or stay with friends and family elsewhere to avoid being caught in the crossfire between rival gangs. Now, according to a State Department report last year, there are up to 10,000 gang members in Honduras, a country with roughly 8 million people. Gangs control areas within the same communities, creating invisible borders, sometimes marked by motto taxis and gang-owned vehicles. One foot in the wrong place can lead to brutal murders. Sounds kind of like where I came from in Dallas. Yeah. But anywho, the bricklayer and human rights activists say extortion, carjacking, and murders are commonplace, and so is forcibly taking teen girls as Janas, a slang term for girlfriends, and forcing them into small-time drug trafficking. Just as countries control their borders, so too the gangs control theirs by hiring children as young as 10 as informants to spy on people and activities in the communities or to infiltrate meetings to draw out snitches. On a media tour, one of the community organized under tight security by the UN Refugee Agency, residents and activists alike spoke in hushed tones about the crime spree and how general distrust, even of neighbors, has become a game of survival. Their message was always the same: we want to live in peace and have a chance at a dignified life. The climate of terror is such that gang is now a forbidden word among community dwellers who only refer to gang members as the boys. Gang violence tolls on schools and education. Now, the bricklayer and his friend dropped out of school, and surviving gang violence was the priority, and schools are not safe. Oh, that hurt to say that. Schools are not safe, but it's becoming that way seemingly everywhere for different reasons. And for Honduras, the gangs is in control, I guess. Now, classrooms are no longer off limits as gangs threaten and sometimes kill teachers who don't yield to their demands to give their children passing grades. Government figures show 83 teachers were murdered from 2009 to 2014, and security forces were deployed to 52 schools in 2017. This shit is out of control. Now, recently a classroom was ransacked by gang members, and later several assault weapons were found hidden in a school bathroom. Nearby shootings put an early end to recess in tiny schoolyards across many schools. Violence here is the new normal, creating a culture of remaining silent instead of reporting crimes. Parents keep their children home, so school absences run high. One of our greatest challenges is to keep students in school because crowded classrooms, insecurity, poverty, and personal situations are keeping them away. We have had a lot of people leaving to the United States, and so students are leaving our classrooms, said a school principal in a neighborhood grappling with gang violence. He's not being identified for his protection. We have almost 1 million students who should be in school, but they're not, for many reasons. As teachers, we try to provide adequate conditions to encourage them to stay in school, but there are issues that can only be addressed by improving the social infrastructure, the principal said. Despite the death threats and lack of resources, teachers show up to work because if we throw in the towel, things will spiral out of control and children need help, said the educator. There are approximately 850,000 students who don't work or go to school, creating an incentive to flee the country or risk being recruited by gangs. That's a hard one. And like I said before, anyone that's going through that, I am sending well wishes to you and praying and hoping for a better situation to come about, because Our children are everything, and they don't need to be in gangs. They need their education so they can have a foreseeable future. Now, I can understand people are wanting to leave and flee to the United States for that reason. It's understandable, and it does make sense, and I don't fault you for it. I support that idea 100% because why not? We're America, right? So yeah, if you need to be saved, then that's what needs to happen. Now, Ivania Lopez, a lawyer and human rights activist, said that for many poor families in Tegas, as the capital is popularly called, education is not the top priority. In Honduras, there are no opportunities to get an education. The education system is terribly lacking, she said. For many families, the main concern is to put food on the table to survive, not to study. The top priority is to protect life. Like I said before, you can't fault them for feeling that way neither. Now, according to the National Institute of Statistics, only 30% of youth who are 15 to 17 have access to education. And there are roughly 60,000 teachers for a student population of 2 million. Yeah, that's not enough teachers, and with them killing some teachers, that's going to deter other people from wanting to teach as well, at least in that area. Now, over 1,500 students killed in last 8 years. Over 1,500 students were killed in the last 8 years. Now, Lopez pushed back against government officials promoting a drop in homicide rates to 40 per 100,000 people in 2018 from a high of 85.5 per 100,000 in 2011. Since there are many types of gender-based violence that are not visible, the government does not include casualties in military operations, and crime goes underreported. Now, Andreas Feliz, the UN refugee chief in Honduras, told a group of journalists that government security forces are able to enter crime-stricken areas and carry out operatives, but they clearly face the challenge of rooting out gang-related violence without increasing the risk for local residents. In a recent agency report, Sellers warned that the school system is unable to work in adverse scenarios and falls short when addressing the worsening violence in schools. According to that assessment, more than 200,000 children stopped going to school from 2014 to 2017 due to insecurity and the economic crisis, and 1,522 students were killed from January 2010 to March 2018. Teachers were the third largest group of internally displaced people from 2016 to 2017. Part of the answer is reaching out to the criminal gangs and creating options for at-risk youth, said the principal. Now, militarizing schools is not a solution because the military can stay in a school for, say, 10 days and then they leave, but the problem comes back the 11th day and even worsens, the principal stated. Repression is not the answer. I think you have to address the true structural causes of the problem. Even as the Trump administration and area governments have put in place measures to stop illegal migration, the worsening crime and violence in Central America continues to push people to attempt a dangerous journey to the United States. Now, also, according to the UN Refugee Agency, there are around 387,000 refugees and asylum seekers worldwide from the Northern Triangle countries, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. There were over 62,000 asylum seekers in Mexico since January 2019. While the number of internally displaced peoples in Honduras and El Salvador now total over 318,000. So it's getting there. Well, it's gotten there. There's a lot of issues, and there's a lot that needs to be done about this. But if there are a lot of people who are afraid to do so, then that's going to be a problem. Now, for our last story of the evening, New York AG orders televangelist Jim Baker to stop advertising silver solution as coronavirus treatment. It. Why should you have to be told that? Really? Jim Baker, you're that greedy. That's greed. All day, every day. Now, as New York Governor Andrew Cuomo declares a state of emergency amid a spike in the virus cases, the state attorney general, Letitia James, is going after a Christian televangelist for false advertising. A guest of the Jim Baker Show on February 12th, Cheryl Selman was asked if the silver solution sold for $125 on his website would be effective against the virus. Let's say it has been tested on the strain of the coronavirus, Selman. A naturopathic doctor is quoted as saying, but it's been tested on other strains of the virus and has been able to eliminate it within 12 hours. That's a hefty claim. Like, that's a huge claim. Like, you can't just throw that out there. You can't be doing that. That's greed right there. Now, major universities close classrooms amid virus outbreak. Lisa Landau sent a cease and desist letter to Baker, who has previously served jail time for federal fraud and conspiracy charges in the 90s, on March 3rd, giving him 10 business days to comply or possibly face a fine of $5,000 per violation. And in that, it states, your show segment may mislead consumers as to the effectiveness of the silver solution product in protecting against the current outbreak, Landau wrote. Now, the virus confirmed cases and fatalities state by state. Now, the World Health Organization said there is no known FDA-approved medicine or vaccine able to prevent or treat COVID-19, which is pretty much the name of the virus just broken down at this time. And it goes on to say, as we experience more cases of the coronavirus, it is imperative that New Yorkers remain calm but stay vigilant, the Attorney General said in a statement. Okay, but he can't, this preacher dude, he messing up, because you can't do that shit. You being greedy. You done been in trouble once already for this. You haven't learned your lesson. That is some outrageous greed, and you're not going to be able to get away with that. Now, in addition to being mindful about our health, we must also beware of what's going on, so we can pretty much stay on top of things, because it's out there, but no one has the right to be committing a crime, especially like this, because you're messing with people's hopes and everything like that, and that's not cool. That's not cool at all. But, as I was saying, we must also beware of actors who attempt to take advantage of this fear and anxiety to scam or deceive consumers. I encourage anyone who believes they are the victim of a scam or predatory action to contact his office and file a complaint. Her office and file a complaint, she added. Now, like I stated before, he had already served some time for this sort of thing. Now, Baker recently served 5 years of a 45-year sentence for stealing millions from his ministry, the Praise the Lord Club. He was also accused of raping Jessica Hahn, a church secretary, in the 1980s. Baker testified that he had been set up, arguing that sex with Hahn was consensual. Well, at some point the damn chickens do come home to roost, and when you're doing dirt, you gotta understand that one day it's gonna come back, especially when you are supposedly playing the role of a Christian leader. karma's gonna bite you back real hard and fast, like real damn quick. So I wouldn't play with God like that. I would not be trying to use this to fuck over people because it's not right. It's just not right. That ain't cool. Televangelist Jim Baker, you need to be donkey of the day. He really do. He deserved that shit. Because that's not cool. Charlamagne the God over there at Breakfast Club, you hear me? Jim Baker needs to be donkey of the day. Check that show out too. I like that show too. But I mean, this is the sort of thing that's happening, and you all need to, be aware and know what's going on where you live, far or close, because you need to know. All right. So I thank you all for being here. Much love and respect. Take care of yourselves. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the Let's Talk News Report. I wish you the best and don't end up on the news over dumb shit. I've been your host, Tony Williams, and this is On One Radio, the talk show podcast station.